We're very excited today. We're joined by Coach Mike Rayo from Brock University. Thank you very much, Coach, for joining us.
No worries. Glad to be here.
So let's get started with when did basketball get into your life? Where did you grow up, and how'd that get going?
Yeah, I grew up in a small town called Welland, Ontario. It's around Niagara Falls, St. Catharines, Niagara region. I really got involved in basketball. I was a multi-sport kind of guy growing up, but a local coach kind of recruited us in grade 5 and 6, and we played in the local church leagues here. And so that's how we got started, just because I was Catholic. Our school, we started a team, and I got involved then. And then I moved on to high school. I went to a local public school here at Eastdale High School, and then I played there for 4 years. And but my main sport was soccer. So then when I graduated, I went on to Niagara College and Brock University. And while at Brock, I played on the soccer team there. I also played at a pretty good level at I played then was the NSL. It was a semi-professional league in St. Catharines, which was local, but it was soccer. But I always kept my foot into basketball. When I graduated from grade 8 from the church leagues, in grade 9 they started a community league. So I got involved first as an official for half a year. And then one of the coaches kind of quit the Bantam team there, the grade 7 and 8 team. And I don't know, it just piqued my interest. So I was 14 years old, just 1 year removed, and I was coaching these grade 7 and 8 kids. So that's where my story really started. And I coached there for a number of years. And I started when I was 14, and by 19, I got to know everybody. They gave me the local, well, you would call it a prep team, but an all-star team in our area, and I just kept going from there. Basketball became a love. I continued to play soccer, but basketball just became a love, and I eventually spent more time with that. And when I went to university, I graduated from Teachers College and the local Catholic high school here, which I knew a lot of the administrators because we were all involved with community basketball, and so they hired me on there, and I coached their teams for 39 years at Notre Dame College High School. So that's kind of my story until I went to Brock. That's
fantastic. 39 years at the same school, and you were a teacher there at the same time?
Yeah, I was a teacher there for 32. But so when I was in university, they offered me the midget team. So I was like my first year of university, and midget basketball, there was no prep teams or anything there, so school was the primary basketball focus, right? So and they're pretty prominent in basketball here. So anyway, they gave me that team and the junior team for about 5 or 6 years. And then when I graduated out of high school, when I graduated from university, the principal, John Belcastro, who I knew very, very well, just he hired me, and he put me into the school, and I took over the basketball program there. So I started at junior, and then I moved up to senior, and I spent 19 years at senior and about 15 at junior, because we did have a pretty good basketball program there. So it was tough to step in. Like, the school has only had, in its 70-year history, only had 4, 5 now senior coaches. So it's once you get there, you tend to stay for a long time. And so I've been out of that for 2 or 3 years, but I've retired since, but I'm on to Brock then.
Fantastic. So the job opens up at Brock. How do you get about? Was it always something you wanted to do? Was it something you had in the back of your mind? How does that situation end up happening?
Oh, well, that's not a difficult story, but anyway, I was in my last year of teaching, my last 2 years of teaching, last year or two of teaching, and I promised a junior coach, because I knew it was like that. A few years before, I said, "Listen, this is going to be my last year. I'll let you take over the program." Now, he had been at junior for about 12 or 13 years, which is a good stint. and he wanted a shot at the senior team. And I promised him a few years earlier, and I wasn't ready to get out of the game. But what happened was we had a chat, and he kind of said, hey, I'm ready, coach. And so I made a promise, and I gave him the team, but I was still teaching. And then I tried to get on as his assistant, but he didn't want any part of it, and which is understandable. I went to the junior coach, and they were kind of filled too at the assistants level. I went to the girls' side, and they were all filled. So you can imagine, I was athletic director for the school, so I kind of called the shots, but nobody wanted me in to help them. So at that time, I said, okay. And so then I said the only thing that was available was the soccer team, which was in March. So I took that over. But in the meantime, Charles Kissi, the local Brock University guy who was coaching the men's team, said, call me. I knew him. And he said, hey, I heard you're not doing anything. I said, well, no, I'm not doing anything in basketball. I said, nobody really wants me. I said, I had an invite to go help a U9 boys team, U8 boys team, which I was going to jump on for real. And he said, listen, come with me. So I jumped on the bandwagon with him for a couple of years. The first year we did really well. The second year we went to the Nationals. So with him, it was great. But then after the year, he kind of moved on. He went to the 905 Raptors, right? And then there was they were looking for a coach, and I was his assistant. So I was up for the job, but with another guy. So anyway, they gave it to another guy, Muddy Treveri from Toronto, which a great guy, great coach. There was no, I didn't feel anything bad. I would have liked to have the team at that time, but it didn't work out. He wanted me on his assistant, but I didn't want to stay on because I was too close with Kissi, and Kissi was on an interim, like this guy was on an interim then to take over. So I didn't want to be the guy in between, because things go bad in basketball. You know that. And when they go bad, they go crazy. And so I didn't want to be that guy in between. Hey, Mike, what's going on with the team? And then trying to have an allegiance with the head coach. I said, it's better off for me just to go. So I helped them with their summer program a bit. And the school had fired the women's coach a few months earlier. So this was August. They still hadn't hired anybody. So I think it was August 28th. I finished their camp. It was a Friday, about 4:00. I'm going up to pick up my stuff, and I said, thanks, guys. Thanks to everybody. I'm off. I'm retired. My wife books a trip to Portugal and going all over. And I had retired, so it was good. I was in a good state of mind. And I'm just walking the hallways. I keep thinking, I just remember walking, and then all of a sudden the athletic door opens. And they said, Mike, I need to see you. And I looked, I said, I'm looking up and down. There's nobody there, just me. I said, are you me? So I walked in, and she just said, Chris Critelli, she just said, Mike, we want you to take over the women's program. I said, for the year. I said, oh my. So I didn't know what to say. I didn't expect it. I didn't know what to say. Obviously, other things fell through for them. I wasn't their first choice for sure. I wasn't one of their top, probably 2, 3, or 4 for sure. Not even considered. So I called my wife, and I said, listen, I have to talk to my wife first. So we talked, and she kind of said, you wanted to do this all your life, which I did, but at that time I was, late 50s. So anyway, I said, okay. And I don't think they knew me as well as they thought, because they said, just hang on to the year, and, then we'll find another coach. But then the basketball started to kick in for me. I started to do all the things I did in high school, what I did with my program, and we started working incredibly hard. And I didn't have time to recruit, but I went out and recruited our own school. I got kids off the soccer fields. I got a couple great athletes on the soccer field. I went into the residence and found a couple big girls and had some tryouts, and I'm just promoting. And so that's how I recruited, just girls that were there. And I had 3 or 4 gems there, that came together with the existing team. And, the buy-in was tough because they're looking at this old man, you know, and they're saying, well, like, what do you, you know, who are you? What do you do? You know, and so it took some time to convince them. But the year was like fruitful. We didn't start off well, but they started to buy in. And I'm a lot old school, I got to tell you, but they started to buy in. And by mid-season, we kind of hit a roll. We had some upsets, and we ended off the year 12-13, which was in fourth place, and we won a playoff game. So everybody was going crazy at the school because this team came from ninth place. You know, nothing, like, no, like, they were disaster. And so, like, things started turning around. Everybody started getting excited. And, you know, before I knew it, I thought, okay, like, you know, while I was going through it, there was some hard things. And I said, well, you know, I kind of sat down to myself at one point and said, you know, at the end of the year, I'm probably going to get fired. So, you know, so I can't be listening to anybody but myself. So, you know, because people, like, everybody was trying to give me advice, and they keep telling you, hey, this is not high school. This is university. This is the top of. So I'm thinking, my only experience was with high school, but I did work a couple years with Kissi, and I saw it. But you got to do it when you're a head coach. A lot different than when you're an assistant, and that's true because you don't have the responsibility. But I sat down, and I would just had you know, a revelation at that point. I said, couldn't sleep, and I said, you know what? I'm going to get fired, so I'm going to do things my way. So I threw out everything that everybody gave me and went back to all my old stuff, and just grew from there. And so it turned out to be the turning point in the year with myself, with my kids. You know, with the girls basketball, I could be myself, and I'm real old school. So, you know, you know, they sent me to, because when you teach, I never coached girls except for the one soccer thing. Okay, Rayo, they say, you can't say this, and I think I broke every rule in the first week. I broke them all. But the kids were endearing. They were great. They understood what I was saying. They understood how I was saying it. And my message came from, you know, from trying to get better. And they bought in. And so we did well. And then at the end of the year, like, they threw a 3-year contract at me. Said, you got to stay. You got to go. You know, and so I stayed on with it. And then this year we added one piece, because even when I was recruiting, they had interim in against my name. These girls I was recruiting, they'd look me up and say, interim. Well, listen, you're not even the real coach. They told, why would I come there? You're not even the real coach. Yeah, you're right, but I have to do my job. Yeah, you're right, but you know what? I intend to be here, and blah, blah, blah. So it was hard, you know, but I did get one good one and a couple pretty good pieces, I thought, you know, and we mixed that together with what we had. And, you know, like, this year happened, and we just started to roll, and, you know, the rest is kind of history.
So, well, unbelievable. I love it. I love the whole thing. So, but let's break some of that stuff down. What specifically did you have to go back to? And, you know, I talked to a coach the other day who's coached guys and girls, Rich Chambers, and I said, tell me the difference between high level at both ends. And, you know, he gave his answer. And so I'd like to hear your answer on that. What's the difference between high level guys and high level girls?
You know what? I treat them the same. Like, when they said, okay, Mike, I look at it as basketball, first of all. So the difference I see with guys and girls, guys play more above the rim and girls kind of don't. So I coached in a local high school here. So, but we always competed at a provincial level. So we always competed at, you know, against the St. Mike's, like, I don't know if you know, Eastern Commerce. We played against the top teams in you know, in Ontario. So Notre Dame were 45,000 people in Welland. You got to understand that. So I got to recruit my backside off to get every basketball player I can to come to our school. So it's hard because we're a small community. So I ran the community leagues, and we ran it out of our school. So I was fortunate. So every kid that played ball came through our doors. So I made sure they saw our facility, our doors, our team. So these kids all came into, yes, this is what basketball is at Notre Dame, and this is what we did. So, and I went to go see them play, the 7 and 8, the grade 7, 7 and 8s, the 5 and 6s. So our local thing in our own gym, I had full access to them. We put our coaches in place because there were, I put in the host league coaches, and so I helped run the league with 3 or 4 other guys that were basically Notre Dame guys, right? And other community guys too, but guys and girls. So I had access to it, but my approach to it is not any different. Like you say, high level. To me, I sink my teeth into individuals. Like I always work with individuals on getting their individual skills better. For me, it's passing, dribbling, shooting. And I work predominantly with that. The team concept is important, like what you do, X's and O's, but every coach is different. And all X's and O's work no matter what. But they don't work if you don't have the individual skill. So at our place, at Notre Dame, we always worked individual skills. So it was kind of a 12-month thing, After our season, we had a AAU team that was not really AAU team, but only guys on my team, because I was not interested in coaching kids from other schools. That was not my interest. My interest was creating my own school, my own team. So we extended our year, but we always worked on a lot of individual things in the off season and during the season too. Our time was limited. When I got to university, that opened up for me a lot because I had all day to work with individuals and then at night. So for me, it didn't matter if like we got like 3 of our girls were, you got to understand, 3 of our girls were rejects from other schools. 1 reject from Windsor, 1 came from Guelph, 1 came from another school, just wanted to be with us. Like they weren't from other schools, and they said, okay, they weren't good shooters before, but like every day we worked on shooting. I have my own process. I have my own way to do it. And, I really in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I started in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I was fortunate enough to work under a guy, Mike Daly from Niagara University in the NC2A with Pete Lonergan back in the day, because they were recruiting some of our players. So I got to watch a guy. His name was Dick Baumgarten, and so he was a guy not too many people know about, but he worked with guys like Steve Alford, Chris Mullins. He worked on shooting. So I refined his skill back in the 80s and 90s myself, and so I built in my own kind of thing. But I was fortunate enough to go with Mike Daly, who was one of his top assistants at Nazareth College at that time after Niagara University. And I worked with him, and he taught me a lot. And I just kept working with different athletes and getting the shooting and the dribbling down and the passing, really the shooting. And so I carried that on. So like for me, when I go and assess a player, if I look for different things in other coaches. Like they'll say, okay, she could shoot the ball. She could, I don't worry about that too much, because when I get her, as long as it's not complete, I can help her. Like I'm there for a reason. I got to be able to teach something. They put me there to do something, not to just, to do nothing, So we do that. And I work hard at that. And I don't, like when you talk about elite, and to me, it's a little bit of athleticism, but to me, beyond that, I like a cerebral player. If I get a smart player that wants to work and kind of go, a lot of times that offsets a lot of the athleticism. And proof is like this year. For sure, we didn't have the best collection of girls. Like there were 5 or 6 teams, maybe 7, that had greater talent than our team. But nobody played harder than our girls. Nobody played as smart as our girls. So that was kind of our key this year.
22-6. I mean, it was a great season for sure. Has it helped in recruiting? Are you seeing some players coming in that you're excited about, or are people paying more attention to what you guys are doing now?
Yeah, like I'm getting into a lot of players are wanting to come on board, and I generally speak with them, and some, I think, a couple girls from Montreal, a girl from Calgary, which I really like. I was, investigating your program too. I got a lot of interest from from Vancouver, 5 or 6 girls from Vancouver, 4 or 5 maybe. Maybe I'm exaggerating that. So I've talked to, in that respect. So yeah, there's been a lot of interest in the school. People kind of know who I am now. Before they say, I'd say, hey, I'm Mike Rowe from Brighton. And they say, okay, they talk for a couple. Who are you again? What's your name? And then I say, well, it's Mike Rowe. What school are you at? Like, I never heard of you. Okay, Brock University. And, I go through it and I was patient. But this year I was saying, hey, coach, how you doing? Well, I think I got a player for you. So, so that's kind of turned it around a bit, So for me, yeah, I mean, the media part of it has really put some light into our pro program, and it's making it easier for me to get players. Like this year, I have, like, my girls are kind of nervous. Like, I've got a lot of returnees, only lost like 2 or 3. And I mean, we're up to 24, 25 that just want to try out. That's apart from open tryouts and stuff. So we're getting in on these Zoom calls, and, I don't feel like if a girl wants to come and her program is there, pretty good ball player, and I say, hey, listen, really, I can offer you a tryout. We'll see if we can get you something. But, and after talking, a couple girls said, I'm coming. Like, one was really said, she floored me. I didn't even recruit her, but she called, she emailed me. I saw her tape. She was good. I talked to her, got a good hour conversation. I said, well, think about it. And she called me back an hour later. She goes, didn't even call me coach, because I go by Rayo anyway. So she said, listen, Rayo, I'm coming to your school. I said, are you sure? She goes, yeah. And not only am I coming, I'm going to try out. I'm going to make your team. I said, well, okay. She goes, not only am I going to make your team, I'm going to be your starting guard. I said, holy mackerel. What's going on? So I said, you know what? Good luck. And so I don't feel like I'm in a position to refuse anybody that wants to come and try out. And, really playing for our team is not really up to me. If they show well and they do well, I can't deny them. If they play well, I'm the last guy to deny them. If you deserve a place on this team, you worked hard, like, man, you're going to get it. And so that's a position I take. And I'll help them. I help them with that. So, I've been fortunate. Like this year's team, they fell into kind of. I'm not authoritarian. I'm not that. I work for the priests my whole life. They hired me, so my vocabulary, my vernacular is very sane. I'm not a swearing individually, and I don't. The most I'm going to do is say, if I'm that mad at you, I'm going to get you off the floor and sit down. And then that's it. But other than that, like, my kind of methods are more, I think sometimes they're biting in the respect that they're more humorous. Like, I'll make a comment, and so they, I often make the comment with the girl when she doesn't get things after. I said, you know what? It's like 51st dates all over again. And now the girls are too young, because they don't know the movie, right? So I said, listen,
not that old. They gotta get
the
culture. Now, last question for you. I see your coaching staff. You got quite a few people that work with you. How do you formulate putting your coaching staff together, and how did that come together? What was your thought process behind it? And tell me about them a little bit.
Yeah, I wish I can tell you that that it was methodical, and then there was a big plan, and it was kind of put together, but no, it wasn't. I had an assistant this year who I lost, who was my ex-player. It was very, very good. His name was Cedric Casongo, but he moved on to other things, which is good. But I needed another assistant, and what I did, I reached back into my bag of friends from, if you can believe this, from elementary school. So his name is Rick Lestraco. So he just came back into town. He had been involved in basketball, so he knows it. So I plucked him. He's older than I am, but he's a real loyal guy, and he's good. He knows the game. So I thought he fit well. So he's with me. I am looking for a good woman, but to me, I got to kind of know there's no real process, but I've got a couple good students who are really interested in the game that have been coming out with me. So I kind of elevated them. So really my other two assistants are senior students that have really taken an interest in our team and what we're doing and have a great interest in about Matthew Tang was one, Aiden Cain, and Ginny. What's her last name? I just call her Ginny. But Ginny,
Hey,
that's Cape, Ginny Cape. How'd you know that?
I got the internet here with me.
Thanks, but so Ginny Cape. So they've really taken an interest, and see how my mind is kind of lost, but they've really taken an interest, and that's become my group.
I love it. And you know what? I think I saw a thing from Bill Belichick. He said the number one thing I look for in a coaching staff is talent density. You know, I'm not looking for, I don't need 12 people. I need the people I got need to be able to do what they're supposed to do, and the talent that they have needs to be tight, and we all got to be on the same page. And if you got that, you can take care of anything. So clearly it worked. Whatever you did, it worked this year. I want to thank you for joining us. I'm excited to watch your team. I'm gonna keep track of you guys. I love what you guys are doing. Obviously, it's a great story coming from recruit. You know, you should look up Scott Rourke out at Oregon State. His story is surprisingly very similar to yours.
Scott who?
Rourke, the head coach at Oregon State. When he came in, they were the worst team in the country. And before he knew it, they were making the Elite Eight and stuff. And his first year, he had to take kids off the soccer team, and he went walking around. And exact same story. It's kind of fun. But one of the things that's been cool doing these interviews with all these different coaches and players and stuff is the process is like this. You never know how you're going to get to where you get to, and you just got to keep working. And you're clearly a great example of just putting the work and the results to take care of themselves. So thank you very much, Coach, for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we'll get this thing up for everybody.
Thank you.